Welcome, welcome, welcome to Biz Dev Live. I am so excited. We have Christie Ellis today. She is the founder of, count 'em, 5 companies. We're going to talk about business alignment. I think this is one of those things that in the entrepreneurial journey, getting aligned with what you're trying to do, even if something is tactical in the moment, right, is really important to find your joy. And maybe you're deep into your business adventure and then you got to realign, just like you got to make sure that the wheels on the car get realigned. Otherwise you're going to lose those tires. You got to get aligned. So this is going to be a really good episode. I'm excited to talk to Christie Ellis. She is a friend of a longtime partner of mine in business. We're going to talk all about that. We'll be right back after the Biz Dev Live theme.
Biz Dev Live, Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time, live. Biz Dev Live, Biz Dev Live, weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration. Biz Dev Live, Biz Dev Live, business development, not even selling it. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. This is business development, not even selling it. Biz Dev Live, Biz Dev Live, Biz Dev Live. This is business development, not even selling it.
All right, Christie Ellis. Christie has founded 5 companies. Christie has served as an expert on shows like World News Tonight and the Today Show. Christie enjoys taking complex questions and making them easy to understand for everyone. Christie is the founder of Phoenix Story Coaching, a positive psychology-based life and business coaching firm, which works with successful people who want to thrive, not survive, not just survive, right? Christie also founded the income tax reduction firm for commercial real estate owners, CRE Cash Strategies. The Swell Party is a luxury catering company in the Hudson Valley that understands food, serves the great memories you'll make on your important day. It's not about us. It's all about you. Work with Tom Ellis. He's a fabulous person. I enjoy working with him a lot. Knows hospitality well. She is a guest lecturer to Boston University's MBA program at franchise conventions and educational seminars around the country. She has served as a contributing writer in publications as varied as the Atlanta Journal and Constitution, New York Real Estate Journal, and Friends Journal, Quaker Thought and Life. Please welcome to the show the cathartic and the creative Christie Ellis. Thank you so much for being on the show with me today.
Wow. I feel like I'm already done. That was amazing. I should just step out now.
Very good. All right. So tell people just a little bit about some of the ways that you help people. Obviously, you got a lot of stuff going on. I know you've been incredibly active since the start of this year, at least to my knowledge. I mean, I've just seen all over LinkedIn with incredible posts talking about how you're helping people with telling their story. Talk to people a little bit about how you help people.
Yeah. So what I like to say is that I teach people the how of success and happiness. And the way that I do that is we really get to the heart of challenges so that people can break their patterns and they can overcome obstacles for good.
I love that. And so I'm really interested because I know you're doing a lot of different things. And I think, I'm of the mind, and I know there's a lot of people out there that have lots of ideas and they want to do lots of things. They got big goals and they love to help people over here and do this over there because we all have more than one interest. I think one of my favorite expressions or sort of psychology kind of pieces over the last few years has been the idea that, we're all more than just what we do, right? We're all more than just this one thing that somebody may see us as. Multifaceted personalities. That's great. But if you're actually trying to execute in multiple places, that gets really difficult. It can be very frustrating, can be very challenging. So I'm really interested in your story, how you got to this place where you are successfully running multiple companies. I know when we were talking in the preamble here before we jumped in live, you were saying, Little Christie, she wasn't really motivated or really focused on any particular career in general. So how do you go from not really being wanting to do much in the world to running 5 different companies, right? So talk to me about that journey.
Yeah, so there were a lot of things that I wanted to do as a kid, and it kind of changed about every year, I would guess. And the way I realized I was an entrepreneur was kind of an unusual path, I think. I was a soap opera actress right out of college, and but not like a fancy or important one. I was somebody that would be on set for 12 hours every day because the actors that were way more important than me had it in their contract to maybe be there for an hour a day, and I would have to stay all day to make sure that I was in their scenes. So very long days. This is before the time of smartphones. And so all I could do was just read. That was what I had to do in the basement green room at ABC. I just had to occupy my own time. I'm a researcher by nature and I love animals. I started reading about companion animal nutrition. And before I knew it, I had taught myself this topic that was really underutilized at the time. There were only about 80 studies that had ever been done on companion animal nutrition. So I have no trouble talking. I learned this. I started making food for my own dogs. And then I would just talk about it with people. I would say, oh, did you know this thing is harmful or this thing is helpful? And I would really scare people, and I wasn't doing it intentionally. And I grew this love of what I was doing to feeding maybe 20 dogs out of my apartment in Manhattan. And then somebody I didn't know offered to pay me for the food. And it was just a light bulb moment. I was very unhappy on the soap opera. It was not a stimulating job for me. It wasn't a job of purpose or of passion. And I realized as soon as somebody offered to pay me that what I should be doing was running businesses. And I was sort of off to the races, as they would say. That's how it started.
I love that. And I've talked about this before because I think there's some light bulb moments that happen when other people sort of insert themselves. And in your case, you're talking about somebody was willing to pay you. I've also heard where people just somebody gave somebody a compliment and said, "You're really good at this." And then suddenly it's like, boop.
Yeah.
Wait, I am? Oh, wait, I can do this as a business. So how do you go from, so to talk to me about what that first business was, because I'm even having trouble wrapping my head around it. So was it creating dog food? Was it a dog food line? What was that?
Yeah, so it was the first human quality pet food. At the time, if you're familiar with Manhattan, it got to be really big. It was called the Healthy Pet Gourmet. And what we did was we worked to create human quality meals for pets, no matter their health condition, their age, or their weight. And they were delivered to people's homes. And this business grew from my home kitchen to national distribution, international media coverage. I was on TV in Japan. I have no idea what they said about me, but it was still really exciting to do. And all of that happened because I loved dogs. I loved research. I thought there was something better. And I was just at the right place at the right time to create that brand.
That's amazing. That's incredible. So you landed in some success, I imagine, and you're
Yeah.
not, I don't, maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't see that on the current resume.
No.
Is that, so what happened with that business?
It failed, and I want
Oh,
to say
no.
it loudly. It's
Yeah, yeah.
because it's such an important part of my story, and I think any entrepreneur's story. So my business grew so rapidly that all of a sudden I was the pet health expert on World News Tonight, the Today Show. I blew up dramatically, which was amazing. I had Whole Foods coming to me, wanting to find a way to take my very customized product and make it available in stores. And this was also at a time when our economy was not in a great situation. This was 2005 to 2007 was when that business had the most rapid growth. I mean, I had celebrities building kitchens in their apartments to hold on to my product. That wasn't my goal. It wasn't supposed to be a luxury brand. It was supposed to be for everyone. But that's what the result was. And I ran into a few challenges. One was I'd never been to business school. I was an English and theater major from a liberal arts college. I had no idea how to do things like food costing. I
Mm,
just really lacked all of the sort of core business skills that you might need to grow a business like that. And I ran into trouble. I ran into an economy I didn't know how to solve. And ultimately, that business failed. And I've got to tell you that at the time, it really felt like a death. That business was my baby.
yeah.
I suffered grief over the sort of
You
the
start
death
tying
of that
your
business.
self-worth to this entity, right?
I think, we see so many stories of success seemingly from nowhere that it's very easy if you're an entrepreneur and if your path doesn't look like this, oh, you started something and it went amazingly well and now you've succeeded and now you're just, raking in the benefits of having a successful business. It's very easy to feel a lot of shame about the failure, but the failure really is a part of the success story. So I think normalizing failure, normalizing that if you're an entrepreneur, it may not go the way you think the first time around. I think that's really important. More than anything else, you really need to have grit and resilience if you're going to succeed. As a business owner, as not a business owner too, but particularly without reinforcing peers as you're starting something on your own, uh, you got to just understand it's going to happen.
Yeah, there's not necessarily a safety net when you start going out on your own. And I think, I was just talking to somebody last night about, they have an opportunity. They got a tremendous following on LinkedIn, 11,000 plus. Shout out to Paula Elise who's out there, and I was talking about it. I mean, you can get a job, and there you have the safety benefits. You were working, in theater and had a regular gig, right? But you're tied to it, right? And so there's that piece. You don't get to control your own time. And then entrepreneurship, it isn't necessarily I get into my business venture and I get to take a vacation. I mean, you can, but probably not going to work out for long-term success. It's more complicated than that. And, then you take on employees and then you're responsible for paying them, even though the money might not be coming in. So it does get into these complicated waters, and learning the hard way how to manage and delegate. So you learned some lessons. And so what
Yeah.
was the next steps?
Well, the next steps for me were, really going through the grief experience of closing that business and figuring out what I was going to do in the world. And for me, the process of getting to here was really about stepping back. I became a management consultant with a firm that specialized in all of the things that I naturally did well. It was about transformation. It was about quick growth. It was about understanding how to speak to clients. It's that business doesn't exist anymore. It's now a part of PwC, but it was such a valuable experience for me to sort of learn the theory behind all of the things that I knew how to do well. So that was my next step, was management consulting for several years. But you can't keep an entrepreneur down. It wasn't long before I found my way back to business ownership.
And I love that, because I think a lot of people will take it on the head when something fails and focus on what they didn't do well. And it sounds like you went right back to focusing on what you did well, right? You were into, hey, I do this well, I transform, I can launch a big business. And you're working with an accounting company, or eventually it ended up being with an accounting company. So I imagine they had those strengths to help you. I know, listening to Barbara Corcoran's story, I was so inspired, because she was like sales, and she was like the high eye, and out there, and could I don't want to say manipulate, but she could make the situation right, even working with somebody like Trump, understanding how to twist that, right? And so, putting that to her favor. For anybody that doesn't know who I'm talking about, Barbara Corcoran, Shark Tank. She has a book called Shark Tales, really incredible. I was really impressed with her when I saw her speak at a hospitality event. And she found somebody to work with her that balanced out those things that she didn't do well, so she could really focus on what she did well. And I think as entrepreneurs, we're all looking for that in the beginning. You got to kind of figure it all out yourself, and maybe get some great vendors and some great advice and counsel, but focusing on those strengths is a really big deal. So talk to me about what the next entrepreneurial big bug that bit you was.
Well, I love, if you don't mind, because I want to take that point that you just made about strengths. I personally believe this is the single most important thing that entrepreneurs and really all people need to be doing, and we are not doing it. And it's called success evaluation. And the reason I say this is, as a species, this is just a human characteristic. It's been proven. We know this is true of ourselves as a species, is we are really, really, really good at paying attention to what we're bad at. We're very good at criticizing ourselves. We're very good at criticizing others. We're very good at saying, I lack the food costing experience. I don't know how to do that. We're very good at that. But what we don't learn how to do is how to look at our successes and figure out how to make them repeatable. And this is such an important part of how you succeed in the future. And there's a series of really easy questions you can ask yourself to start to wire your brain in that direction. The most important one of all, in my opinion, is the question, once you've evaluated your success, once you ask yourself questions about, how was I resourceful? What am I most proud of overcoming to achieve this success? How did I demonstrate grit and resilience? And how did I use my strengths to create this success? What you really want to make sure you're asking yourself after every success you ever have, no matter how small, because you can celebrate very small things, is what do I want to remind myself in the future when I'm struggling with my next goal? Because that really, you want to remind yourself what you do well. So much of us, so much of what we all share is this experience of being an imposter, right? We all think, a successful business person would look like this or that. They would be doing these other things that are totally not what I'm doing. And it's because we take ourselves out of our success experience. We think it just happened because we were lucky. We very rarely take the time to really acknowledge what we do really well. And that's how you make sure that you create it in the future, right? Oh, I'm really good at, this and this and this. And next time when I have a challenge and I don't know how to solve the food costing situation, I'm going to remind myself that I knew how to do this particular thing. And that's how I solved it. And now what you're doing is you're creating a repertoire of not only confidence in yourself, but on tactics that you can utilize. So the next challenge is solved much faster.
I love it. And it's that way to create a turnkey business. Michael Gruber talks about this in the E-Myth Revisited. And I know I was reading that book and I'm sitting there like, oh, that's what I didn't do. So, I figured out all this stuff with accounting, but when I, got to that point where I was like, all right, I know I don't want to deal with this anymore. I know I want to offshoot it. I'm going Googling a form instead of going back to my own experience, my own expertise. And I'm getting halfway through the job search of like, oh yeah, I use QuickBooks every day. Yeah, I do need a QuickBooks Pro as I'm talking to a QuickBooks Pro, which I should have been only talking to QuickBooks Pros, right? And just craziness like that, but not valuing your own experience and documenting that within the business and documenting your wins. Absolutely agreed. And just a shout out to Stephanie Savada, who's checking in from Cornwall and Hudson, New York. Thanks for checking in here with us. Let us know if you have a question for Christie. I love the live element of these shows. Network in the comments. Make sure you're connecting with others. I put Christie's information, connect with her, and then make sure if you have a question about aligning your business, understanding the best things about yourself so that you can put those into your future plans. Let's get those questions in. Go ahead, Christie. Sorry.
So you want me to go back to my story?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I totally hijacked you because
no, that was good. It was good stuff.
Was so great. I just had to dive in with that. Yeah. So when I went back into business, it really happened very organically for me. one of my client firms was a firm at the name called, had the name Cost Segregation Advisors. I had no idea what cost segregation was, but as I learned about it, what cost segregation does is it is a way that commercial building owners can reduce their income taxes through accelerated depreciation of the real estate assets. And that is a mouthful. So the long and the short of it is that what that strategy does is it helps business owners keep money in their own pockets because they're lowering their taxes. It increases cash flow. And so many businesses, the reason that they fail is a cash flow issue of, maybe they've sold a lot of things. They're just waiting to get paid. And that gap between the selling or the money it takes to create their product to actually getting payment in ends up being the killer of their business. So I was really interested in this brand. And the owner of that company at the time had been the corporate controller at the Home Depot. He had been around for a long time. He was a really exciting entrepreneur. And I will also let you in on a little secret. It was my dad. And he asked me if he would actually be a good client for me to start growing that business more nationally. And it's been probably the most rewarding business experience of my life to get to know my father, not just as, my dad, but as a business partner. And we've grown that brand today to not just provide cost segregation services, but also other income tax strategies for commercial real estate owners in a brand called CRE Cash Strategies. So picked that one up next, started growing that business next.
And so many stories, you talk about like Gary Vaynerchuk, you talk so many people, they started, really, really jumping in and sort of stretching out, working for those family businesses. I know my kids are excited about Toth staffing. I do Biz Dev Live. I got my 10-year-old who's up at the desk, oh, I could do this too, right? So just seeing that and getting those examples and being able to help and pass that on. And I'm looking forward to when my younger ones are able to kind of jump in and, give me advice and let me go, you go ahead. Let's go. Yeah, I'm glad you know something I don't. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then the last pickup business, which, my husband, Tom, it really happened in an interesting way. Tom is the best customer service, client experience person I've ever met. There is nobody who cares more about the experience of his clients than Tom does, and also the experience of his team members and of employees. And the challenge that Tom had been having was he was working in really large businesses. He grew Star Restaurant Group from, I don't know, it was something like 40 million to 100 million over the span of 3 years as the head of their sales and development. I'm probably getting those titles wrong, so don't hold me to it. But there was dramatic growth with Tom in that lead role. And he was also miserable. So he and I had been having these conversations about what kind of business he would really want. And so he took a risk. He went out to do consulting for hospitality, and we wound up with a client company that was an amazing catering company that we were really excited about. The food they were providing was unlike anything we'd ever seen. It tasted better. It was original. It was fresh. And then the business owner of that business had a real personal tragedy. And we were placed in this position of either saying, Mr. Business Owner, we could help you close your business, or we could help it succeed. Ultimately, we realized the opportunity was to buy that business from that former owner and really grow it into a great brand with the right kind of culture that Tom had always wanted. So that's how I got into hospitality. I'm really not a food person other than enjoying getting to, try out new dishes, and I sort of manage the strategy and I help with the back end of that business more than anything else. Food tasting.
And I was there.
I'm the key food taster.
I didn't see the back end of it, from what you're talking about on the finances side and everything, because I know us hospitality folks, we struggle on the finances side. So I'm sure Tom appreciated your support, but I did see the switch over from fire roasted catering to the swell party, working with amazing clients. When you guys were closer down my way, because I do a lot of parties up in was it northern New York, right? Or not even northern New York, right?
Really, New York, Connecticut,
Yeah.
Massachusetts,
But when you
Vermont,
guys were down in
Maine,
Westchester,
New
that's when
Jersey.
I got to take part with
Yeah.
my staff, and just amazing, amazing parties. And for anybody that's not done or seen a party with Swell Party, seeing some of the outdoor cooking stuff, I mean, it's just over the top, Instagram friendly, ready,
Yeah.
amazing. Just it's an experience just walking by the kitchen, let alone being in a tent or other space with this high end, amazing farm to table food.
Oh
Just
my
amazing.
goodness.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's the kind of thing you have to see to appreciate. You can't really explain it. So anybody that's
Yeah,
interested
I'm
in
gonna
camp,
try to. I
go look
have
at
some
those
parties.
images. It'll
Yeah,
explain
I
it
have
better
some
than I
images I'll bring up. I was trying to find one that would kind of do things justice here, but I'll let you continue telling your story.
Yeah.
And talk to me about, so you pull these companies together, and how are you
Yep.
managing all of this, right? Because you got a lot of things going on.
Mm,
CRE Cash
yeah.
Strategies, working with Tom Swell Party. You have this Phoenix storytelling. How do you juggle these balls?
Yeah. So this is really the secret of how any business owner is ultimately successful, and it's about alignment with purpose. The way that you're aligned with purpose are things like it's very easy to make decisions and you don't overcommit yourself. And issues like perfectionism or sales nervousness, all these sorts of issues go away. So for me, I know what my purpose is. I know that every day what I'm doing is I'm helping people break their patterns and overcome their challenges. And whether that's spending my time in the income tax strategy business, I know my role there. I know how I function in that business. I know that in the catering business, I know my role there. I know what my purpose is. I know the amount of time it takes me for that. Or whether it's in my coaching business, when you're on purpose, it's very easy to make decisions about how best to spend your time. It's very easy not to overcommit. And a lot of the noise that's in your mind about, like, a lot of people get very nervous doing sales presentations or doing, interviews. But that's because they're thinking about them. They're not thinking about their purpose. If you're on purpose, you're never thinking about yourself. So, my purpose today, when you and I talked about doing this interview, was to try to provide as much useful information as I possibly could to help other entrepreneurs on their path. And nowhere in that idea of my purpose is anything about me. So how I look, how I sound, maybe I do something weird or unusual. None of that really matters. When you're focused on those things, you're focused on your messaging instead of on your message. Message trumps everything. That's your purpose. So, a lot of people ask me how I juggle, but ultimately it's because every day I know what my goals are, and my goals are all about what my purpose is. And it makes it very easy for me to make decisions about how best to spend my time at any one moment.
I love that. And how do you recommend for people, because we have this takeaway from you, right? Alignment with purpose is how you create task goal success and business growth. But how do you recommend people truly find that for themselves?
Yeah. So, I think there's a lot of sort of trite statements that I find really damaging out there. And one of them is this idea of just, do what you love and you'll never work a day of your life. I find that to be so shaming. What that statement is saying, when I hear it, what I hear in that is, if you're miserable in your job, then man, like, what's wrong with you? You should be doing what you love. It's all your fault. No, not at all. Your purpose is always about, how are you serving? Who are you serving? How are you serving? How are you helping? It's never about you. So, there's a couple of things I want to share with you about that. One is this idea of the role of money in your business, right? We're all like, ultimately, as business owners, if you're not making money, you're not going to have a business for very long. And that's true. But money is never the purpose of your business. Like, it's just not. Not only is that obvious because so many businesses fail, if something like 90% fail, something like I think over 70% in the first 5 years fail. If you're looking to make money, getting a well-paying job is a much better strategy, right? So it's not about money. And again, there are really well-paid jobs that most people would absolutely hate doing. You know, I think the job of I read this. This is a fun statistic. If you are a crime scene cleaner, if that is what your job is, I think the average pay after you've been in that job for a few years is $80,000. So if all you're looking to do is make some good money, go get a job and be a crime scene cleaner. You know, most people aren't going to do that. And that's because something matters to them more than the money that they're making in their business or the money that they're making from
Yeah,
their
I
business.
love that example. Do you want to, is that, if the money's so important, do you really want to go clean up other people's blood
Right.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a powerful example where you go, oh, right. Like, I think that money's the most important thing, but as soon as I'm given an opportunity that seems unpleasant, I realize I actually have a value that's higher than that money. Right. And the other part
I
of
think
that,
it's incredibly interesting too, because in my hiring process, and this might be helpful, which is why I mentioned it to somebody, I won't hire, for Tom, right. And I'll just show a couple of pictures here just to show off one Tom. There's Tom in his tux.
oh, I love that one. That's in
Right.
Italy, actually. He caters all over the world. The Tux is in Italy.
And this is bride and groom with the outdoor ovens going, right? And then this one, if I can make the technology work here, this is just an example of some of the food cooking outdoors, right?
The duck's my favorite. I love the duck.
So I think it's really incredibly powerful for people to understand. Like, I don't hire a waiter or a bartender or a chef that hasn't done the job. And that's not because I'm looking for them to be experienced in the sense of they technologically know how to, they technically know the skills of being a bartender, although that can be extremely helpful.
Yeah.
I want to find out whether or not they actually enjoyed this and want to come, because I don't want to waste my time with you if you haven't figured out if you enjoy the work enough to come back to it. And that's something that I think, it's difficult for folks to understand. It might be very difficult for new entrepreneurs and business owners to understand, but there's going to be people that, if you somehow talk them into doing the job, they're going to be resistant from almost the moment they get there. They're doing it because they want the money, but they don't want to be there. And that's not the people that you want in your business.
Yeah, and that goes back to this idea that money is not the purpose of your business. Money is the benefit of your business. It's what you get from serving others at whatever your service is, whatever your product is. That's what your purpose is how you're helping. Money is the benefit you get from doing that well. And when you start to shift that alignment from money being your purpose or believing money is your purpose to understanding it's not, it's your benefit, it really starts to open up what that means and how you interact with others, not just with potential clients, but also with your employees, right? Because you understand that the money is the benefit. So, powerful story. This was actually a study that was done maybe 10 years ago now about purpose. So, and how you can bring purpose in if you're an entrepreneur, if you're not an entrepreneur, whatever your job is. I love this study. So here's the story that I'll give you. The researchers had planned to study how people cope with miserable jobs. This was their idea of what they wanted to get information about. And the group of people they decided to study was hospital janitors. They thought these, hospital janitors have a really miserable job, so they must have some really unique coping skills to manage. But what they discovered instead was that there was this subset of janitors in hospitals that had higher levels of job satisfaction than executives and white collar workers and just the vast majority of people that you think of as having like great jobs. These janitors were outperforming in their happiness and well-being ratings. And when they did the research and interviewed the janitors of why that was, it was because none of those janitors thought of themselves that way. They thought of themselves as important, as an important aspect of the healing team. They saw their purpose every day as doing things like making a patient laugh after they'd just been sick in their room, or noticing who didn't have visitors and making sure to circle back and have a conversation with that person later in the day. There's even a great study of one woman who, if somebody was in a coma, she would go in and she would rearrange some of the things in their room so that it was always new and fresh for them in case that helps them wake up and recover. So what these janitors were doing launched a study that lasted for 10 years about what we now call job crafting. And it's the idea that your job description and the tasks that are required of you in your job aren't necessarily your purpose. Your purpose is, how are you serving? So what those janitors had figured out was that how they were serving was by helping others feel better in a bad situation so that they could heal to the best of their ability. And the cleaning was just what they did while they were doing that purpose.
I love that. And you see it in like cast members versus employees at Disney and all these places. For the person that's watching that's saying, okay, great, Christie, you're telling me make a better story, serve my purpose, right? As my phone goes off here over here. Serve my purpose, but I need money to make my business work, to put food on the table, to pay employees, or to serve, or even just to make the purpose work, right? I need money into this entity. What do you say to those folks?
Yeah, so I would offer you an analogy, I guess. So if you can think of, a time in your life when you were dating, either you weren't in a relationship, you're out there, you're trying to meet people, you're trying to fall in love. My question to you, if you can think of that time, was there ever a moment where somebody could convince you to go on a date with them? Because my guess is no. Or maybe they could like twist your arm into going, but you weren't there like and really excited to be there. You were there to get it done and get out of there. So when we're in a position of thinking that our purpose is to make money, that's what we're doing. We're trying to convince people that they should go out on dates with us. Instead, all you can really do is you can offer. And if you can think about the dates that you said yes to over the time that you were dating, there was never a time that you had to do things like, overcome obstacles or offer unique selling propositions, all these things that we think about in business. That's just not really a thing. If you're going to go on a date with somebody, you either want to go or you don't. You either like their energy or you don't. You either want what they're offering or you're not interested. And there's no amount of convincing that is going to make you interested in what they're offering. And so if you understand that that's true and that selling in your business is exactly the same, all you can do is offer. And offering energy, offering what you do and what your service is or what your product is, that's how you go about increasing your sales, not by convincing. You have to believe that whatever it is that you do, that there are people out there that want exactly who you are and what you offer. And it is just your job to find them. It is not your job to make everybody like you or love you or want what you provide. It's your job to make sure that all of the people who are interested in you know about you so that they can say yes, because they're there. And if I want to bring it round to the food world, I would say it's like owning a restaurant. If you're on the corner, you need to be making great food, right? And if you have a great food, then the smell of your great food is going to waft out into the streets. And as the smell of your great food is wafting out around the corner, There are going to be people that don't want what you're cooking. It's not because what you're cooking is bad. It's because they want something else that day. They're not interested in Italian. They want Chinese. You're not for them right then. But there are going to be a lot of people that if you're cooking great food, they're going to smell, your food wafting into the air, and they're going to say, oh my God, I want that right now. And that's what you need to be doing in your business. Not showing up and saying, you don't put on the advertisement outside the restaurant. What you're selling isn't $10. What you're selling is the best meatball you've ever had.
I love that. And you see that so often. And then going back to the date analogy, right? You probably, at least if you're a guy, you probably didn't get the date if you didn't ask, right? So you got to offer, ask, whatever, right? You gotta put yourself out there, because you can put on a nice shirt, put on the nice shoes, you can get all dressed up for that special date. But if you never ask the person that you want to go out with, then you're probably not going out on a date. You're doing it by yourself. Yeah.
And bringing it back around, that failure is a natural and necessary part of the success process. However many dates you asked people out on, they didn't all say yes. And certainly you dated people and those relationships failed.
I remember that first high school girl that I asked out. She did not say yes. It was definitely a learning experience.
Yeah, right? But it was necessary. Without that failure, you wouldn't have moved on, and you would have never found, who you are with in your life. And it's exactly the same. Your job is to be out there offering, and not from a place of money and my benefit, but from a place of how I serve, and so with dating, how you serve is, I'm here to have fun with you. I'm here to get to know you. And it's the same in business. I'm here to help you overcome your challenges.
The idea that you're there, you're showing interest. And so often, like we see on LinkedIn and so many different places, somebody's not taking interest in me. They want something from me, right? Does that sound familiar? They want something from me. Women on LinkedIn, right? Yeah, I know you can relate, right? They want something from me. They're not really interested in me. And I think that's something that a lot of businesses do not practice. They don't practice interest in their customers. I know I've fallen into that trap over the years of just like, okay, I'm just interested in the business and not really interested in the people. And it's really surprising when you get interested in your customers and what they need and how to make the experience more special for them. Working with somebody like Tom, who's great at it, right? In terms of creating an experience that's really special. Understanding if we're doing something, especially for somebody's wedding or birthday party, this is their special day, even if it's our 300th wedding of the year, right? It's their amazing special day, and making it really special for them is really important.
Yeah. And so, if people are struggling with understanding what their purpose is, there are some questions that I think you can ask yourself that can help you get clarity on that. I like to think of the question, if let's imagine that I sold my business, right? I wasn't doing this business anymore. What would I continue to tell people about? Because I know it's helpful to them. I have no benefit from this. I have no gain from it, but I just know it's so useful that I can't help but share this information with people. That's a really good sign that you're on purpose. Another question is, how can I continue to provide value each and every day, even if I don't have clients? I think that's a really valuable question for entrepreneurs that are just getting started. They need to really reframe what they're doing, that I only provide value once I'm paid, to I provide value every moment, as often as I can, every day. And that because I'm offering value all the time, that's why people want to work with me. If this is what they get from me for free, wow, what must it be like to work with them as a paid client? And that's really what it's about. When you take your focus off of yourself, it's amazing how things open up and how you allow your business to flow to you instead of trying to force or convince it to happen, with people that just aren't for you, or clients that aren't yours.
Yeah, I love it. And you talk about just powerful business principles, but the power of authenticity, right? And just understanding that if you give of yourself and you share your story and you share the things that you know, people will be attracted to you and they'll want to work with you just for those very reasons, right? And I think it's interesting, and people don't always realize it. And obviously, there's some savviness with understanding your value and your worth and your time, but if you give enough of yourself authentically, people will line up to pay you what you're worth. And you just have to, create that opportunity, that offer, that ask, and people will line up to do it. But you can't do it with the intention that everybody that hears your message is gonna right. It's just gonna buy it.
Right.
There's going to be some people that are ready for your Italian food here, or they want to go around for the
Right.
corner for Chinese today, and that's okay, right? The spice of life, variety. All right, I want to get into this last piece here. We've hit on, the principle of alignment. We've talked about success evaluation is crucial to create future success. All right, so people are getting aligned with their purpose. They're evaluating what they're really good at, what they've had success with. A business plan that only includes action steps is doomed to fail. Talk to us about that.
Yeah. Well, so, your business plan is the what that you're going to be doing. But without the how, right? Without the how am I going to actually do these steps, you're going to fail. And that's just what we've been talking about, right? Like the energy of trying to convince people versus the energy of offering to people. The energy of what does it mean to show up authentically? I can tell you there was a time, particularly with my tax consulting business, when what I did when I showed up for meetings with CPAs and building owners was I tried to get out my best suit. I tried to look, I had my nails done. I was very polished, and I was very stiff. That's not who I am. And so what a lot of people got from me was this stiffness. And I used to get a lot of feedback about being really intimidating, and people just didn't really connect with me. I still got a lot of business because I was a real tank. I knew how to roll over people and really force it. I knew how to get to the end goal. But I really missed out on a lot of opportunities, and I really missed out on a lot more ease and fun and a lot more growth, quite frankly. So, when I learned how to show up authentically as me, and if you've seen me at all on LinkedIn, you see that I'm just as likely to post what it's like to be a person that has a chronic illness and just run 5 businesses and what that day-to-day is like, to, showing up with my, professional photos that, I get done from time to time to try to increase, my
We've
message.
seen the dancing on LinkedIn. We've seen,
You've seen me dance in my sweats. That's, I think, celebration is a really important aspect. But, it's your business plan is very important. I don't want to deny the impact or the importance of a business plan, but it's just the what. And there's so many different hows. How are you going to go about achieving this? And that's where people get confused. That's where these thoughts of I need to make money create tightness. They create desperation. They create nothing that a client wants to be a part of. So, what's really important to ask along with your business plan is those questions of what is my purpose? How am I serving? How am I going to go about achieving these results? How am I aligned to my values? How do I show up authentically? And that looks different for everybody. But that's actually what I do in the coaching business is I help people look at what their challenges are, whether they're in their business or whether they're in their personal lives. And we figure out what's going on in your thoughts, because it's those thoughts that are determining your how, that thought of I got to make money, nobody's going to respond to that thought. And it's not pleasant for you either. when you're able to shift your thoughts and be able to offer, and when you're able to find ways that feel easy, that create connection, then all of those business plan steps are going to be so much more successful. So it's not about you need a better business plan most of the time. A lot of time it's I need a better how.
Love that. I love that a lot. I mean, I think it's so interesting. There's so many different ways. We have so many different tools. I know some people, we're living in very, very interesting times, to say the least, right? We have right now, on our current date of Tuesday, March 8th, 2022, Russia is invading Ukraine. Stock markets aren't doing that great. We're at hopefully the tail end of a epidemic, a pandemic that has definitely affected my business. I know it's affected yours and
Yeah.
Tom's business on the catering side over the last couple of years. So many different challenges, but yet there are just so many opportunities and so many ways for people to reach out and communicate and take advantage. I mean, going back, as little as 20 years. I mean, if you wanted to get attention on just a tiny fraction of what you're able to do with your phone in your hand these days, you'd have to buy a billboard and television commercials and newspaper ads. And now you can basically accomplish that with a little bit of consistency and savvy on social media. It's really crazy. Just the opportunity that we all have. Just a shout out to Alexandria Rosa checking in from Ohio over there. Thank you for tuning in, Alexandria. I want to sort of kind of close this out. You recommended a book, and I think it's really apropos for what we've been talking about today, right? Just sort of getting in touch with yourself, A Mind at Home with Itself. You want to talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I love the philosopher Byron Katie. She offers something called The Work, which is a series of questions that you can use to evaluate how you're thinking and decide if those thoughts are working for you or not. She has a really remarkable personal story. I think it's why I was drawn to her, as somebody who's lived through trauma and abuse and business failure and cancer caregiving and being a cancer patient. I've been through a lot of challenging experiences. And what that really taught me was, my approach and my thoughts are really the core of how I get through and how I find ease and comfort. And she is such a great writer on how to begin to do that for yourself.
Love that. Love that. Yeah, I definitely want to check that book out. That is one that I was excited. One of the questions that I ask everybody that I have on BizDev Live,
Yeah.
which brings a lot of value into my life, is, what book you would recommend and what you're reading right now. When you submitted this stuff, you said you were reading Full Cash Catastrophe Living by John Kabat-Zinn, and I'm not going to be able to say his name, but I've seen it before.
Okay.
It's Nat Han, I believe, is how you might say it.
Yeah. So one of the parts of my coaching practice is something called mindfulness-based stress reduction. It's a science validated strategy to reduce stress, to reduce pain and chronic illness. It helps people recover. And he created it. So it's a book that I revisit from time to time. Every time I read it, I feel like I learn more. Anybody that's interested in most people call it MBSR because it's way too long otherwise. He actually gives you the step-by-step plan of how you can start to incorporate some of that in your life. He's an incredible teacher. And I highly recommend it to anyone who's interested in incorporating mindfulness. If you don't, can I say one thing about the Ukraine? Because I just want to offer. I want everybody that sees this to know I'm currently donating all of the profits that I get from something called the Energy Leadership Index Assessment to the Ukraine for the month of March. So if you are at all interested in creating greater awareness so that you can start to change some of these things, your thoughts and your purpose, the ELI is an incredible tool to do that. And for this month, I am donating all of the profits from that to Ukraine. So you can go to my website. You can go to where you schedule with me, and you'll very easily see what that is.
And I was just about to ask where people can reach out to you. So I've dropped your LinkedIn into the comment sections on the various channels that we're on, but definitely let people know what website they should go to and where they can find you.
Yeah, the easiest way to reach me is to go to phoenixstorycoaching.com. And that'll tell you everything you might want to know about me. There are links from there to the other businesses as well. There's also links to schedule with me. I do free consultations to help people figure out if I can be useful to them and for them in their current place in their life and business. I am donating the profits of this ELI assessment tool this month. And, I am open to coaching, and I love helping other people succeed. So hopefully I'll hear from you soon.
I love that. And Alexandria was saying she's applauding there in the audience. She's been on the show as well, and you guys have a lot of comments. So I hope you guys definitely connect after this. That's a big part of what this show is all about, bringing people together. So thank you so much for this. I think, a few of the highlights for me, just building on your successes. I have a business coach. Her name is Lynn Rowe, and she was talking about, we were in a group session, and she's like, you all need to celebrate your wins more. And it's so funny because it's, it's not that any of us don't know what we need to do. There's a lot of inputs coming at us. If you got family, you got maybe some different businesses going on with some different things coming at you. And so it's hard to focus on those things that you're supposed to do, focusing on gratitude, focusing on mindfulness, getting centered, closing the doors of noise and all that are coming at you. And so getting a coach, getting somebody that can just ground you in a moment and remind you what is truly important to you in this moment and for moving forward. It's such a valuable thing. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for helping your husband along. That helps my business. And I really enjoy, there's a few caterers out there that there's magic, right? And fun. And I think that, one of the joys of working with Swell Party is that there's magic and there's fun, and you don't get that everywhere you're going. So I'm really appreciative and grateful for that. Really appreciative and grateful for you. Thank you for being on the show. I'm going to leave you the last word here. I'll let you remind people where to go. And
sorry, it just cut out, of course. What was the last word? What's the question?
I was going to let you leave you with the last word. And Yolanda is saying, thank you, Christie Ellis. You are the epitome of grit. So you got a roaring endorsement there. Yolanda, thank you for jumping in there and saying that. If you'll take the last word here and close us out, and I'll play the Biz Dev Live theme, but just let people know your final thoughts. Susan Castelli, sure. You know the deal, Susan. It's going to be up everywhere, including on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as soon as I upload it there. So you can listen to this audibly, or you can watch the video on the return. Follow hashtag BizDevLive to see all the content. All right, that's my commercial there. I'll let you close us out, your final thoughts, and then remind people again where they can go.
So my last thought is the difference between you and all the successful people that you want to be like is that they stop overthinking and they make decisions now. Whatever it is you want in your life, stop polling your friends for what they think you should do. Stop overthinking. Stop analyzing and criticizing. You need to make decisions right now. That's how you're going to be successful. That is the only difference between you and all of the successful people you want to be like. So make a decision today. If you're ready for coaching, go to phoenixstorycoaching.com. I'm excited to hear from you.
Thank you, Christie. Here we go.
Biz Dev Live, Biz Dev Live. Weekdays at 11 Eastern Time, live. Biz Dev Live, Biz Dev Live. Weekdays at 11 Eastern Time. Leadership and motivation, empathy and inspiration, Biz Dev Live, Biz Biz Dev Live. Business development, not even selling it. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Cameron T. Biz D with C, brought to you by Cameron T. Cameron T. This is business development, not even selling it. Not even selling it, not even selling it. This is business development, not even selling it. Business development, not even selling it. Biz Dev Live, Biz Dev Live. Biz Dev Live.